moment, we're going to start streaming live to Facebook, to the whole wide world. All part of the fun. Um, go live now. Clicking the button. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Three, two, one, go. And we are live. We are live right now on Chatter and on Facebook. Hello, 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 and welcome. And today is part two in a series of talking about elements of education, of creating a course of training, whether it's in real life or online. You might be somebody who wants to make money doing online trainings or face-to-face trainings. You might be a coach. You might be a leader. Whatever it is, if you are in the business of educating and teaching other people, then this week and this series is all about you and how you do what you do and how you need to do what you need to do, so on and so forth. My name is Darren. I'm a certified trainer, teacher, tutor, coach from the United Kingdom. And I've been teaching and training for years and years and years and years in the further education sector in England. That means in colleges, as well as tutoring in universities. I usually help people to pass their degrees and their masters in anything from criminal law and justice to applied psychology to business management. The list goes on. Also, a teacher in English, maths, ICT, communication skills, leadership. The list goes on. So, education is my thing. Now, when I create courses and I write session plans that are going to help my learners to learn, there's a whole bunch of methodology, there's a whole bunch of science and tactics that I have to do in order to make sure that the session goes well. Now, there can be, and there are times in life when things throw the whole session off course, and it is what it is when that happens. But for the most part, you can plan a session of learning so that whoever attends that session learns. And guess what? That makes the session, therefore, valuable. That makes it that anyone that comes to your session is happy because they leave with what you told them they were going to get. So let's go into that here today. So yesterday, I spoke about the cycle of learning and how you learn by. So a quick recap: you learn by having an experience, then reflecting on the experience, then making some abstract concepts in your mind about what you've learned and try to figure out what it means, then formulating what you're going to do next and do differently, and then last stage, go out into the world and try new things. And then you keep going around that cycle, and then what happens is the more you go around that cycle, the more you learn. But today, what we're going into and covering is how to set learning outcomes for a program. So let's go. Also, welcome to the room, Dina and Holiday and Chooks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are currently live on Facebook as well as being live on Chatter. So, for those of you who are listening on Facebook, feel absolutely free to comment, and I'll respond to you as and when it's possible to do so. So I can see both screens right now, and I can interact with all of you. Let me just double check the sound's fine. We are currently live on. Yeah, there we go. Nice one. Slight delay there. That's perfect. Okay, cool. So, learning outcomes. By the end of this 60-minute soiree into this subject, my aim is that you will be able to identify the purpose and value of learning outcomes in adult education when teaching adults specifically. Also, you'll be able to differentiate between weak and vague outcomes and strong specific ones. You'll be able to apply something called Bloom's taxonomy to rewrite learning outcomes that are clear, measurable, and learner focused. You'll be able to demonstrate the live creation of learning outcomes for a real example through a group activity with Darren. For anyone on Chatter specifically who wishes to join me on stage, feel absolutely free to join me and get involved and all that sort of stuff. Um, I'm just clicking some buttons right now to share this live into groups. Oh, that's brilliant. So I can be live and I can share it into groups all at the same time. That's absolutely brilliant. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to evaluate the effectiveness of outcomes by reflecting on them at both at the start and the end. Again, if anyone's got any questions, whether you're on Chatter or Facebook, feel absolutely free to just write in the comments section, and I will see that because I've got like a million screens in front of me that help me to do all of that. There's no VA here. It's Darren being an octopus with all of his arms, so on and so forth. Oh, that's my alarm going off there, telling me a thing. Right, let's crack on, shall we? So, why outcomes matter? Outcomes are a compass for teaching. Without outcomes in a learning session or even in a relationship, things and people drift. With outcomes, there's focus and there's progress. In NLP, outcomes presuppose success. In NLP, outcomes presuppose success. So when I'm planning a masterclass or even a room on Chatter or Clubhouse or any of these sorts of things, the main thing for me is to decide in advance that by the end of me giving a talk or whatever on Chatter or Clubhouse, people in the room will know a new thing about, you know, whatever the subject is. And that's my outcome. If I didn't have an outcome that by the end of the Chatter or Clubhouse session or whatever, if I didn't have an outcome that basically said by the end of this room, people will understand, I don't know, Bloom's taxonomy or whatever, then there's a chance that I could go into drifting and start talking about the politics in the United Kingdom or the price of donkeys in Afghanistan or I don't know why I'm talking about donkeys in Afghanistan or the banana supply chain from Nicaragua to bloody Argentina or whatever, and we don't actually do what it is we came here for. So it's important that I decide in advance of the room what it is I want people to understand or be able to do as a result of attending the room. Also, I'd like to welcome to the stage Dina. How are you, Dina? Are you all right there? What do you think about um, this particular thing that I've shared so far, specifically around the importance of outcomes before delivering um, some training or learning to others?
Sounds good to me. Outcomes, definitely important. Yep.
Okay, and why do you think outcomes might be important when planning learning for people? Why do you think they might be important?
If you know the destination, you know the path to that destination.
Wow, there's nothing more to teach you, Dina. You just come out with these answers that absolutely smack. Exactly that. If you know the destination, then boom. I couldn't have said that better myself. Lovely one. Thank you. Oh my God, this day is a better day right now. It's wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's exactly that. If you know where you're going as a trainer, teacher, tutor, coach, parent, public speaker, anybody who's in the business of influencing others for positive purposes, if you know where you're in terms of outcome, then there's more of a chance that you're going to get there. There's more of a chance that you're going to get there. Okay, so exactly that. Um, so what makes a good outcome? Now, several ways of um, there's several ways of creating outcomes, but one thing that's a definite thing I think everyone can agree on is an outcome is a good thing if it's clear, if it's observable, otherwise nothing happened, and it's measurable. something that you can measure. If you can't measure it, then it's not there. If it's not observable, that means nothing happened. There's no evidence. And if it's not clear, then, you know. Now, when I'm creating masterclasses, I have to write my learning objectives in terms of learner behavior. Learner behavior. So by the end of the session, Dr. Katrina will be able to say back to me at least two elements of the Bloom's taxonomy. By the end of the session, Holiday Commander Chooks will be able to state at least one part of the Bloom's taxonomy structure. Now, I'll say an outcome like that in the beginning, and at the time when I say it, you might be thinking, what the hell is he talking about? But at the end of the session, if you're able to state one aspect of the Bloom's outcome structure or whatever, guess what? You've learned something that you didn't know at the beginning, you know at the end. So, in my mind's eye, when I'm creating learning sessions, I'm already thinking in advance, what do I want to have happened by the end of the session that I'm going to deliver? So that's that. Oh, crikey. What just happened? One second, everybody. A thing happened where it moved the thing from the thing and it disappeared from the thing, and I have no idea what that's about. So I'm going to just press some buttons and we will be back in business in a moment. Also, for anyone who's watching live or the recording on Facebook, feel free to use the comment section and I shall interact with you accordingly. Here we go. Nice one. Whee! So that's what makes a good outcome. Okay, so Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy. Basically, there was a guy called Mr. Bloom some time ago, and he came up with this idea, this structure, which is he was a psychiatrist. That's coming back to me now. He was a psychiatrist that came up with this structure of thinking about different types of learning outcomes and how to structure them in accordance with what it is you want learners to get out of the piece of learning that you're going to deliver. The way that you state objectives can be done in terms of okay, well, you know, what do you want the learners to be able to do by the end of the session? Is it that you just want them to remember something? Is it that you want the learners to understand something? Is you want it that you want it that the learners can apply something? At a higher level, is it that you want the learners to be able to analyze something? So more intelligent learners can analyze a thing. Is it that you want to help learners to be able to evaluate a thing? Or is it that you want learners to be able to create a thing? Each one of those steps is a little bit more complex than the last. Lower levels of learner who are in lower levels of education, it's just remember. So I'm going to teach you something, just want you to remember it. Much higher levels of education will be like, right, we want you to create something. Because if you can create, that would demonstrate that you've been able to evaluate, that you've been able to analyze, that you've been able to apply, and that you've been able to understand and remember. I hope that makes sense. Outcomes should always progress up this ladder. For example, if I was teaching the subject of anchoring, the objective that I might set for my learners in advance, I might say, right, recall the definition of anchoring, you know, and I could be saying to myself, right, after the 60-minute or 3-hour class is over, all of my learners will be able to recall the definition of anchoring. To be able to apply, um, if that was my objective, it would be demonstrate anchoring in a role play. And create objective at a higher level would be design an anchoring exercise for a client. So I hope you understand that the more you go up the ladder of this thing called Bloom's taxonomy, the more you go up the ladder, the more complex objectives seem. Right, I want to slow down for a moment and just check in with you all. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments, or insights about any of what I am delivering right now? No, all good, all good, all good. Okay, brilliant. No worries. Um, awesome. Let's crack on, shall we? So, different types of things around outcomes. You can have a weak outcome or a strong outcome. Weak would be understand anchoring. Strong would be demonstrate anchoring to help a client recall a confident state. Okay, so a weak outcome would be like by the end of this holiday will understand anchoring. That's weak. It's not very specific. But if I said by the end of this holiday we'll be able to demonstrate anchoring to help a client recall a confident state, that second outcome, that second objective is going to bring holiday to a much higher level of skill where she'll be able to do something at a higher level that's a little bit more complex than just quickly being able to explain what anchoring is in her own words or whatever. I hope that makes sense. So weak versus strong outcomes. Now, I want to do a live demo for you all, and I'm going to do that by shutting this thing down, and then I'm just going to open a thing on the screen up. For those of you who were here yesterday, I'm going to open up the exact same document that I started yesterday, where I was given an example of how to structure a piece of learning. So some of you might remember me typing into this. So yesterday, I started creating a session plan to teach somebody pacing and leading. Pacing and leading. So I want to teach a group of people how to do pacing and leading, and I outlined yesterday how I would take people through a series of steps in order to get them to a stage where they feel confident that they can do this thing, pacing and leading. Now, that was me jumping into the middle of me planning a session yesterday. But if I was thinking about this in advance, I'd be thinking to myself, what do I want learners to be able to do by the end of this um, this class? So usually, when I'm creating a masterclass in advance, what I would do in advance is I would think, I'm creating a masterclass. What do I want people to be able to do? So I'm creating a masterclass. What do I want people to be able to do? Now, in this masterclass that I'm randomly coming up with here, and by the way, Dina, only if you're comfortable doing so, and if you've got the time, if you wouldn't mind pinning a link to the top of the screen, the one that ends in the word masterclasses, that would be absolutely wonderful. Only if that's convenient for you. So I'm going to call this session a masterclass in mastering um, deeper connections with others, the art and science of rapport. So this is a whole masterclass around rapport. And let me give this a title or something. There we go. Whee! And turn this into a page. There we go. Maybe not. Let's turn this back to. Here we go. Right. So this is a masterclass in mastering deeper connections with others. Now, there's no point just giving it a fancy name, is there? Wouldn't it be a good idea at this point to set out some objectives of what it is I want learners to be able to do? So I would then type by the end of this session, learners will be able to let me and then put some bullet points here. Learners will be able to define define rapport um, in their own words. So that's one of the things I'd want people to be able to do. Define rapport in their own words. Okay, so I'm imagining in my mind what it is I want people to be able to do by the end of the session. What else do I want them to do? Um, Demonstrate the ability to step in and out of rapport at will. Okay, so I want them to demonstrate the ability to step in and out of rapport at will. What else might I want them to do? State how they can use what they've learned in a context that that matters to them. What else do I want them to do? I want to be a bit deeper. What else do I want them to do? Um, Give. Oh, crikey. What else do I want them to do? I want them to state some of the ways they know if someone is in rapport with them. Um, and yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. So I want them to define a thing. So that would suggest that they remembered something from Blue's taxonomy. Blue's taxonomy. I want them to demonstrate a thing. So that's at a slightly higher level in Bloom's taxonomy. I want them to be able to state. So this is an analytical thing. I want them to be able to state how they use what they've learned in a context that matters to them, and I want them to be able to analyze and state some of the ways they know if someone is in rapport with them. I hope this makes sense. Okay. Now, these are the objectives for the whole session, which means that every single activity throughout the masterclass, every single activity has got to be an activity that leads the person closer and closer and closer towards being able to say, wow, I've learned a lot today about rapport. Not just talking about it, but being able to confidently do things that demonstrate that I can do it. Okay. Um, Now, one of the things that I would do, sorry, assessment of learning. One of the things that I would do is in each segment. So let's say jump in right in the middle of a session. I start explaining stuff about the importance of bypassing conscious resistance when talking to people. Um, blah 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 blah. Then after that, I refer to pacing and leading concepts. Then after that, I get people to watch a demonstration. And after that, I get people to join breakout rooms to experiment and play around with exercises. Actually, let's throw this into the objectives. Um, uh, uh, Carry out a pacing and leading exercise with 3 paces and a lead. So that there you go. Carry out. That's something I want them to do. See, you see how me even talking through this makes me think, there's another cool thing that I could do. I could get them doing this. That would be a good outcome. You see, I'm constantly thinking while designing the masterclass, what is the outcome that I want for the learners? What is the outcome that I want for the learners? So, this objective here, carry out a pacing and leading exercise. Look what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it. I'm going to paste it here in the column which is about assessment of learning. Because the only way that I will know that the person has been able to do what it is I wanted them to do is by looking at that point when they're in the breakout rooms or whatever, and noticing that they've done exactly what it said in the objectives. That they've done exactly what it said in the objectives. Um, I'm going to take another one of the state some of the ways they know if someone is in rapport with them. Maybe earlier on in the session, we could have a. So I'm going to put that in assessment of learning. Earlier on in the session, I could get everyone having a group discussion. You know, discuss how we know if we have a strong connection with someone or not. And this could be a group discussion that we all have. And it's through the group discussion, I'll be able to ascertain that people, through the group discussion, I get everyone in the room to to demonstrate that they understand that there are ways to know if somebody's in rapport with them. Dina, are you available? Are you there?
I am here and I am available. Yep.
Right. So, Dina, if you're having a conversation with somebody, face to face, ideally, you're having a conversation with somebody, how would you know that you and them are getting on versus you and them are not getting on? So, how would you know that you're in rapport with them and you've got a good connection versus if you've not got a good connection? So, list at least one way that you would know that you've got a good connection with somebody else.
First off, where the eyes are, if they're looking away and the
Mm,
face is looking away, or if their eyes are looking at me and my face.
nice one. There you go. So I'm Dina. I'm just using you for an example of how I could go around the room. Then I could go to Dr. Katrina, and I could say, Dr. Katrina, what ways can you think of that would let you know that you're in connection, in rapport with another person while I communicate with them? Dr. Katrina answers, go to Commandra. Commandra, what do you think? And if I don't want to do it in a big group, guess what else I can do as a activity? I could invite learners to go off into pairs or threes and chat about it. And after they've gone off into pairs or threes for about 5 minutes, get them to come back to the main room and discuss it as a group after doing it in smaller groups. Again, whole purpose being that I want everyone to be able to demonstrate that they understand a thing, you know. Um, so in fact, I'm gonna actually put that hmm, in small groups. So send them into breakout rooms in small groups. Discuss how we know if we have a strong connection with someone or not, and then after the small group, in main group, everyone lists. Everyone states um, the one way of knowing there's a connection with someone else or not. Okay. Now, I'm not going to map out this whole thing. Not today, anyway. Oh, by the way, small groups. What did I say? 5 minutes in main group. Maybe we can have a chat about it for maximum 10 minutes. There you go. So always mapping out the duration. Um, so my main aim today is to demonstrate to you how outcomes, learning outcomes, define how I map out what a masterclass looks like, all the bits and pieces, and how many minutes it takes, and what everybody's doing, and what I need to get everyone to do, and how I need to keep an eye on the clock, and all these sorts of things. Just looking at the room chat real quick. Active listening. Okay, so what would you, what I like that. But what would you see or hear that would let you know that they're doing active listening? So good answer, Chooks. But what would you see or hear that would let you know that they're doing active listening? Mm. But nice answer though, because yes, active listening is obviously a really important thing. And by the way, those of you who are watching live on Facebook, in the Mastering Neuro Linguistic Programming group, feel free to comment on this post, or on the chat live thing. Da 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 da. Thank you very much for attending live on Facebook. Hello, hello, hello. I can see you all. Woo! Hello, hello, hello. Um, okay, cool, 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 cool. Hold on, let me get back to where we were. So, objectives, objectives, objectives. Again, if anyone's got any comments, thoughts, questions, feel absolutely free to get involved and ask. I do recognise and realise this is slightly advanced stuff. In the UK, this is what they teach teachers in terms of how to design lesson plans that guide and influence. Got to be careful about saying the M word. Some people are severely triggered by that one these days. To guide and influence people things, to learn things. So here we go. Right, brilliant. So back to the presentation. We are back. They react to what you said, not just waiting for their turn to speak. Oh, nice one. Exactly. There you go. If Chooks was in one of my masterclasses, he would be one of the people that I'd ask him the question, he'd answer, and it's just evidence that this is why it's so important to structure sessions in a way which gives everyone an opportunity to answer these things. Okay, cool. So where did we get to? Demonstration, Google Doc activity. There we go. Um, so where outcomes fit in the session, they fit at the start. So by the end, you will be able to, that's future pacing. And then at the end, which of these do you feel most confident about now? Asking everyone in the masterclass a question like that. Of what we've covered today, what do you feel more comfortable being able to do? Of what we covered today, what do you think you're going to be able to use most in your session? Are you happy with what we've covered today? And do you feel that you now understand the subject of, you rapport or whatever? Yeah. So at the beginning and at the end, that's where objectives begin. Objectives fit. Common pitfalls around objectives: too vague. By the end of the session, they'll know about NLP. That's too vague. Too ambitious. Be a master of NLP in one session. Too many outcomes will overwhelm learners. Hey, today you're going to hit 10 objectives that I set for you. That's too much. Way too much. Um, Bum, bum, bum. So if you wanted to practice this in your own context, it's simple. You would literally just take 1 week outcome in your own life, in your own business, and then rewrite it and make it more strong using what I've shared with you today. I've literally shared the secrets of how you make your outcomes better. So let's just say, for example, you had an outcome of, let's just say, yeah, you had an outcome of increasing how much money your business makes before the end of 2025. And that's your outcome. That's too weak. Increasing the amount of money I'll make at the end of 2025. That outcome is too weak. It would be more strong if, actually, does anyone in this room want to hazard a guess? How would you make that much more stronger? So instead of saying make more money by the end of 2025, how could you make that a better objective and make it more strong? Anyone, whether you're live on Facebook or live on Chatter, anyone want to hazard a guess as to how you'd make that more stronger as an outcome instead of just have more money by the end of 2025? Any ideas?
Name actual figures. 20,000, 200,000, whatever the actual figures.
Okay, so phrase that as an outcome or objective.
To increase the income by 200,000.
Yeah, to increase income by 200,000. Yeah, exactly. The only thing I'd add on to that is by December the whatever. So add like a specific date. Um, if you set objectives without dates or without some time bound element, um, yeah, it severely decreases the chance of the outcome happening anytime soon. Brilliant excuse to procrastinate. Oh, I didn't set a date for whatever it was. Okay, so if there's no date, you're setting yourself up for procrastination. Um, and it also allows you to not be held accountable for not achieving your goals. It allows you to have an excuse for not achieving your goals. Oh, I did set a goal, but it didn't work out. Oh, yep, I forgot to set a date for it. You know, and you could go into all the different psychological reasons as to why people um, do that and that. But I'm talking about this here today because I want you guys to be better, do better. I set an outcome for my what do you call it, my business, because next year or maybe even this year, I want to be able to teach other people how to create online marketing funnels which lead to um, better outcomes, which lead to achieving the things that you want to achieve in your business, which lead to succeeding. But I can't do that easily and attract people to me delivering something like that easily without demonstrating that I'm very skilled in doing this. So some of you might notice sometimes I'll point out things like the link at the top of the screen. That's a part of the whole funnel thingamajig. You know, stuff to do with like even payment systems like Stripe and PayPal and how that all happens. The masterclasses, the programs, the constant rooms on Chatter and Clubhouse. It's all a marketing universe, if you like, and there's a structure to every single little thing that I do, even down to the use of colors, brand colors, the royal navy blue and the yellow that I put on everything, and the slight green color that you might see every now and again, or the royal purple that you might see here and there. I've got 4 brand colors. So every single thing that I do that's got anything to do with my business, you will see my brand colors on them. It's all a part of funneling. But the best way um, to get people interested in that is by demonstrating that I've got a funnel, that I've got a marketing universe, so on and so forth. You know, and the thought of being able to teach this in the future to people that want that kind of information, that excites me. That excites me. I'll be honest with you. If I sit here saying, "Oh, generate $100,000 by the end of the year," that's not exciting to me. What excites me is creating something that so I can turn around to other people and say, "Hey, look what I've created. Would you like something like this too for your business? Come and join me on this program or masterclass or whatever it is, and I'll show you how." You know, again, that's a later stage. At the moment, I'm so focused on NLP delivery and rare. I don't want to confuse all the different things that I've got out there. So yes, as Dr. Katrina's quite rightly put in the chat, objectives should be measurable and time dated. If there's no way of measuring it, then it's not going to happen. If there's no time stamp on it, it's not going to happen. With these objectives that I've shown you for today, the timestamp is obvious. I'm here in a room with you for 1 hour, so I don't even really need to mention the thing. I'm saying by the end of this session, that's time dated enough because it's obvious it's going to be within this hour. I hope that makes sense. You know, so I encourage all of you to think of an outcome that you've got, something that you want to achieve, and instead of having it be a weak outcome, turn it into a strong one. You know, whether it's have 200,000 extra dollars by the end of rare. I mean, that's got to be based on actual mathematics and some realistic stuff. Mm-hmm. So, key takeaways from today that I want you to have is that strong outcomes equal clarity and direction. And the whole thing about Bloom's taxonomy, which I mentioned earlier, shows you how to scale outcomes so that you help people to have even more skills than just remembering a thing. You want people to be able to do stuff. See, in my line of work in the UK, working with people on government welfare, it's about getting people to be able to do stuff. By the end of this session, you will be able to construct your own resume, a good one. By the end of the session, you will have done a job interview role play and demonstrated that you know how to answer at least 2 interview style questions. You know, so learners would come to me, unemployed learners would come to me, not knowing anything about how to get a job, not knowing anything about how to start a business. And by the end of a class with me, a session with me, guess what? They've got some new powerful skills which enable them to be able to uh, do really great things. And I know that if I've got learners in my class and they aren't able to do things and we've not met the objectives, guess what? Take it on myself, get it fully at cause. That means I've failed as a trainer. I've failed as a teacher. Now, a bad teacher would blame it on the learners. Well, the learner wasn't listening. Nope, doesn't work that way. A really, really good trainer has outcomes that they want to achieve in advance, and they guide a session, guide it very skillfully until it gets to the end of the session and the learner is able to do a thing. And as it says on the screen, outcomes also act as an unconscious suggestion, basically shaping how people learn things. So it's an outcome at the beginning of a session which shapes how people learn. You do a whole bunch of stuff during the session to have it that they learn, and at the end of it, you give people an opportunity to demonstrate their thing. Um, Dina, are you still there, or have you run off screaming in terror?
Fine. Hi, hi.
Hi, hi, Dina.
Yep.
Um, Out of all of the things that are on the screen right now, which one of these learning outcomes would you say that you're potentially comfortable with? So, which one of these outcomes would you say? Um,
I'm
all
just
right.
reading. I'm reading the list here. Uh, mm, 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 mm.
And those of you who are in the audience, feel free to answer that same question. Which of these things on the screen would you say you've got a little bit more understanding around, and you think, oh, I've learned something new today. That's pretty cool.
Probably identify or differentiate for myself.
So read out the one that you're referring to.
Identify, remember, understand the purpose and value of learning outcomes in adult education. Differentiate, analyze between weak, vague outcomes and strong, specific ones.
Nice one. Here's what I'm going to do, because I'm going to add an extra bit of assessment here by asking Dina a very specific question. By the way, me and Dina haven't practiced this. She's got absolutely no idea what's going on right now. She's just answering questions and being a really good Dina today. Dina, um, I have an outcome that I'll be rich by December. What do you think of my outcome?
You've got, it's very vague. You've got no, you said December was
Yeah.
a good, but you didn't have a date in December. Is it the end of December or is it the beginning of December?
Wow. Thank
And
you.
also, which year? December this year or December in 20 years' time? You had no year.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dina. You see, by me asking Dina the question, she's been able to demonstrate objective number two. She's been able to differentiate between a weak and a vague outcome and a strong specific one because of this less than 40 something minute um, room that we've done. So she understands the assignment. That's how quickly you can get people to learn something deep, something cool, something purposeful, something that can transform people's lives. So I hope you guys understand the importance of learning outcomes. Does anyone in the room, else in the room, want to poke an answer to this question? Out of all of these things on the screen, these learning outcomes, what about you? Which of these things on the screen is something that you feel a little bit more, oh, I understand that now. That makes total sense. That you feel comfortable with that. Don't worry, I'm not going to demand you come on stage and whatever. But have a think about that. If we were in a live session, I would ask you directly and suggest you verbalize it out loud, and that's the way I would assess that you've learned. If somebody comes to a one of these rooms of mine or a session or whatever, and they haven't learned, it's not their fault. It's mine. I didn't assess the learner's needs in advance, and I didn't do things in a way that would help things be good. So, for example, about a little over a month ago, I ran a masterclass, and were one or two. There was a couple of people in this room here now who were there about a month ago, and I worked out about a month ago that giving everyone only 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes to do an exercise isn't enough. People need time to adjust and get comfortable, and maybe they're in a pair with somebody they've never really spoken to in this way before. Da, da, da. So because of that, I adjusted my session plan, and I made it that the last session that I did last Saturday, I gave more time to exercise, and I made them 15 minutes long. And I noticed, based on who it was that said that they could have done with more time, I noticed that the person who said that they needed more time back in August, in September, that person didn't have that bit of feedback, and that person was able to have a little bit more time to do what they needed to do to enjoy um, the session a little bit more, and practice whatever the NLP technique was. Again, this is how I very subtly adjust my plans based on feedback and so on and so forth. And the main reason I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that people hit their learning objectives. And if they don't, I take it personally. You know what I mean? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Right, looking at the time, we've got 9 minutes left. For those of you that aren't already a member of my community, for $5.99 a month, you can be a part of my online community on the back end of my website, where I'm throwing practical tools in there, or a bit of extra information, or talk about where I'm going to be, or it's a hub where in there you can ask any questions about NLP that you want. At least once or twice a week, I'll go in there and answer those questions, so on and so forth, either with some kind of um, worksheet or video or something, or I'll just answer it in words or whatever. I've never had to do an audio recording, but I would do that if I found it necessary. For those of you interested in coming along to my next masterclass, I'm doing a masterclass. The link, thank you, Dina, is at the top of the screen. It says DSNLP Masterclass. Click here. Couldn't be any more obvious. I'm doing a masterclass on September the 20th. That's the next one. September the 20th. That's $47. And I'll be teaching some tools and some strategies for coaches and change makers. So more practicing some real cool NLP tricks and stuff where you get to have some fun using this stuff on yourself and or on other people. So that is what's happening on Saturday, September the 20th. That's happening at 11 a.m. Eastern, 3-hour masterclass. Come and join me. I implore you to come and join me. It's fun, it's fun, it's fun. Well, I find it fun anyway. Just quickly looking at the room chat. When you coach or teach, how do you ensure that people don't just absorb information but actually apply it to see transformation? How do you ensure that people don't just absorb? But by setting an objective that during the session they will demonstrate that they can apply what they've learned, and I'd have them demonstrate some kind of application in the session. Beyond the session, if they don't want to succeed in life, that's absolutely their choice. But near the end of the session, I'll probably ask questions like, based on what you've learned today, what aspect of what you've learned today going forward is something that you could use in your practice or in your life? So I'd ask them to tell me, and ask them to maybe even visualize using whatever it is they've learned for whatever it is they needed to learn it for. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, future pace, get them to imagine out in the future. Now that they've learned these really cool strategies, have them imagine out in the future in their mind's eye how they will apply what it is they've learned. You know, maybe see something like that, Chooks. If I even thought that was a concern, maybe early on in the class, I'd get everyone into small groups, go into breakout rooms, and discuss why is it some people just absorb information but don't actually apply it to transform their life. Why is it people do that? And I'd get people to become self-aware by discussing it. So it wouldn't be me sitting there in a class telling everybody that they have to. These are adults we're dealing with. I'll say, right, instead of us discussing it, go off into small groups of 2 or 3 or 4 and discuss why is it some people don't transform? Why is it people only listen to information and they don't actually go ahead and do anything about it and actually apply it to real life? On that note, for those of you who are on Facebook, thank you very, very much for attending. That's Darren signing out on Facebook Live, and I'm going to leave this recording here for those of you who are interested in watching this back. Live video on Facebook has ended, recording stopped, closing everything down. Brilliant. Now it's